Right, welcome back. Let's do four.
Assuming it's not a bomb.
No, it's just really tricky. There would be a very small bomb.
Yeah, but I'm sitting right next to her, I mean,
Yeah.
the 2 feet there would be working. Everything else.
If it was the size of a microwave, maybe. Well, no.
Yeah, I did have to go through metal detector to get here. Don't worry.
Seems to be working too.
Yeah, start doing some more writing of it.
You don't need it, exactly.
It should have some value in his hands.
Yeah, and but some of that goes way back in Oneonta.
Yes, yeah,
He was writing articles for the newspaper,
yeah.
I love press.
So the meeting is live and recording.
And we have 5 people, so we have a quorum and we can proceed. So I did talk to the mayor.
Oh, we probably wanna make sure it's being picked up. Mic room
Thank you.
with the microphone.
Oh, we're doing owl though, so I think I need the microphone. Due to Shirley's resignation yesterday, the meeting will need to start with electing a new chair, and in the interim, for the first minute or so, the person who becomes the acting chair is the longest serving member, which I understand to be,
This point it would be me.
yes.
Unless somebody else comes in.
So,
Have you heard from Mike
nope,
or Richard?
no. No, and Shaniqua looked up and she said, you and Johnny would have been, and then you.
Right, and Johnny, had previously expressed an interest to, resign because of his age.
Yes, and
That's.
so we do have Ariel taking Johnny's place, so we did get a third person in to take the place of,
Okay, well, we'll discuss that.
okay. So at this point, you are the acting chair, and I'm going to turn the meeting over to you.
Okay, well, I'm not actually ready to do this, but I can make myself.
Okay.
First of all, welcome. We do have new members. And we may have resignations that I don't know about. I didn't know that Shirley hadn't done it. I knew she was going to, but I didn't know that she had already done it, so thanks. That was that. There has been quite a bit of controversy concerning new members and resignations and replacements. And whether the dates for the ends of terms are correct, which they are not, I believe that, but I can't tell you which ones. Alan might be able to help us with that. And who would replace who, and I don't know where Mike is or where Rich is, so that's where we go. I mean, as I'm looking around, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Would be Mike and Richard. Shari, I don't know what's gonna happen with her. That would be 8.
So Shari's term had ended in 2024, she did not reapply. And Shari's term was filled by Ben.
Okay, that's assuming that Shari's term actually ended in 2024. And I haven't gone over that with the clerk's office, but we can't have, because of the way resignations were staggered, we couldn't, or not resignations, but appointments were staggered, we couldn't have had that many people end their terms in 2024. Because the mayor, can only appoint 3 per year.
Mhm.
So, and again, that's my understanding, and I haven't discussed this with anyone, did you?
Do I need the mic?
No, we're
Okay.
in now.
Yeah. Can you just provide a table for us, either, you know, in advance of the next meeting or by the next meeting? That just shows all of the members, all of their terms, and if that doesn't make it explicitly clear when their terms will be expired. Or perhaps if they've, you know, if there's other, maybe they've been on for several terms, I don't know if there's some other start date you wanna show us, but whatever kind of helpful information, so we can just kind of put to bed this clearly, like, this information hasn't been communicated enough, this confusion.
Well, I think what I want to do is sit down with the clerk's office and go back through the records, who was appointed when. So we get that correct, and we can see who replaces who. And at that point, I'll also figure out what's happening with Mike and Richard. And Shari is a question mark. Shari may or may not have to reapply. I know she hasn't reapplied. That much I do know.
I will defer to the clerk, but my understanding is that you do need to reapply and that Shaniqua sends out emails when people's terms are
Well,
expired.
that's assuming the expiration dates are correct. And I'm not willing to make that assumption. There are too many expiration dates. Considering that the mayor can only appoint 3 per year, it'd be impossible to have 4 expirations in a year.
So that was something that Shaniqua and I have been working on. And you are correct, there were more than 3 expirations at the end of 2024.
Mhm.
And the way that the mayor handled that so as to be in compliance with the charter was that Shirley and Richard, who did expire in 2024, according to the records, did both reapply. He did not do anything with their application. There was a vacancy and Johnny and Shari did not reapply. We had applicants to fill these positions. So the mayor appointed Nikki to the vacant position, which for staggering purposes, we had end in 2026. He had Ben fill Shari's position. So that I have as ending now in 2027. And we had he had Ariel fill Johnny's position, which we have ending in 2027.
Okay, can you send me out any,
I have the table, I'll
That-
send it to everybody.
send that to everybody?
Yeah.
So, with that, welcome to new members. My name's Rick Rogers. I'm a longtime resident of Ithaca since '62, former school teacher, now retired. Hope to have my teeth back by next month. We'll see. A long road. I was sick, quite sick last year, but that's neither here nor there, and I've been on the board for 10 years plus now. I guess we'll just want to go around and
All right, hey folks, I'm Nikki Sayward. Shirley recommended I bring my resume, so if I'm the only dork who did, whatever. I'll just pass this around. Each one's 2 pages. I am working on a master's right now in public health through Mass Lowell online, and my program is social and behavioral sciences, and I figured police relations were one facet of how the social and behavioral determinants of health. I used to be on the board a long time ago for the Rental Housing Advisory Commission, and like when I first came to Ithaca like 20 years ago, I was on the Tompkins County Workers Center board for like 5 years. So I've dabbled in like political, social stuff more in the but more recently, it's been school. If you saw that I went back to school at Cornell, I was able to use the education benefit for a few years. They used that to get into grad school, so yeah, in my spare time, I just read books and write about them. You guys can have it. I don't have to gatekeep my crappy formatting.
Life.
You're not pretty resumes.
That would be me.
Actually, before you go, I'm just gonna jump in for a moment. Alan Carrison, City Clerk. I need to step out for a few minutes. I just gotta walk my daughter across the street to an appointment and I'll be right back. So I know there's questions I have to answer. I just wanted to explain why I'm leaving the meeting, but I will be right back.
When
Thank
you
you.
get back.
I'm Ariel Jackson. I was not told to bring a resume.
Sorry.
Bit of a rebel, I probably would not have. I've been,
Ariel, so you know, this is the first resume I've seen in my time.
yeah,
It's very-
I've been involved in, I was telling you earlier, I was a reporter for a while. I've, done political stuff. I was the chair of the Public Safety Information Commission before COVID happened and everything crashed and burned. But I've been around city stuff for a while, city and county stuff. We know who you are.
Okay. For the new board members, Thomas Kelly, Chief of Police. I started back in December of 23. Before that, I was in the city of Schenectady for 23 years. Worked on different projects around homelessness, substance use disorder, mental health and CIT programming. I also do instructing for DCGS around procedural justice, implicit bias, and continue to, on my own time, do a little bit at as well around the state. Just had the opportunity to come back from the State Department of Criminal Justice Academy, doing some work down there. And no, I've just really, it's been a incredible experience. The time I've been in Ithaca, seeing a lot of amazing people, amazing police work that's being done. And a lot of my time here has been around not just earning trust in the community, but earning trust within a department and then bridging that gap. And I can't emphasize enough the amount of professionalism and just commitment that you have from the department, a very young department. But definitely, I double booked. I thought the meeting got canceled. That's my fault. We have a barbecue at the youth shelter, but I'll be bridging the gap between the two and meeting some of the officers over there. Hopefully by 5:30, but we'll see. I also wanted to extend the invitation. Something in my experience, from previous experience, when new board members come in, we'll coordinate a ride along. Is definitely important to see what the work that the officers are doing, but then also policy training, some of our most important policies around force, how we investigate, really what our role is in the community, and then a little bit of introduction to some of the most recent programs that we have introduced at the department. So it's definitely good to have a little bit of background, especially as complaints come in, to have an understanding of what the officers are doing and why they do it. We have very, very low number of complaints that come in. Very low. So we were actually supposed to have the analysts come to the June meeting, but there were some cancellations and some movements. So I would like to bring the analysts in for the next meetings to talk about a little bit of her position. She's new as of, gosh, October is when she started. But now a couple months of training and working on our yearly or annual report, and now really starting to dive into like what statistics are useful, the story that they tell and how to present them. So we're really excited about that. And gosh, most recently, we have a violence interrupter that we sponsor through the GIVE grant. And second, Win Cottages who is able to respond in the community. Sometimes we don't know that he's responded. He works with Second Wind Cottages. Other times we may get the call and show up and we communicate with him. He steps out of the way, we handle the call. He doesn't work for the police. He is just a credible messenger in the community. He's actually experienced a number of years of homelessness, so he has a lot of trust and respect in the community that we work with. And I could keep going, but I'll be available for questions.
I didn't know you had a background CIT stuff. That's interesting.
Hi, I'm Dave Shapiro. I'm the city council liaison. This is my almost second year on, well, I'm into my second year on city council, but this has only been a few months that I've been the liaison to this board, so I'm still getting my feet wet here. But I can tell you for the new folks here, this is a passionate group, and I think it sounds like we get some good information about like the good work that the police department's doing. Sometimes we hear some other things, but it's been a good few months for me, just kind of learning a little bit more about, you know, from the chief and from other people that come in his place, just learning a little bit more about how our police department operates. So hopefully you have a good experience here.
Hi, everyone. I'm Meryl Bursick. I've been on the community police board now for a little over 3 years, and is that right, Rick? 3 years?
Think so, yeah.
We need that table.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I need the table for help there. I've lived here in Ithaca on and off for, gosh, over 20 years now, and have worked up at Cornell for 12 years, and I work in IT security in particular. So I have a strong interest and a focus on emerging technologies, technology in general. My day-to-day work is involved in risk assessments and other sorts of compliance assistance for campus. And a lot of what I like to bring to the board is looking at things like policy documents, procedures, and looking at technology and weighing in on those elements in particular, but have really gained a lot of great experience in learning more about what the IPD is having to manage, but also some of the complaints that come in, and just putting that in the broader context of things that are discussed at common council meetings and other public safety meetings. Trying to get a full picture of everything that's happening in Ithaca and how we can all work to make it a better place to be. That's it for me.
I'm Ben Sandberg. I'm the executive director of the History Center in Tompkins County, a position I started in fall of 2019. In addition to that professional position, I'm also on the executive committee of the Downtown Ithaca Alliance on their board. I was the chair of the events committee, and now I am the chair of the operations committee. And I think in all three of those different responsibilities, I've worked with Chief Kelly and many of your officers. I think often collaboratively, maybe sometimes a little antagonistically, but that I'm you know, I think with some of the challenges we've had downtown, I was sort of excited to have the opportunity to be part of the conversation at the city level, part of the dialogue, and figuring out a path forward that is going to work for folks across the spectrum. So I'm excited to be a part of this. And then I would just plant the other seed, which is my own little sort of interest in terms of the History Center, and that this came about through the Reimagining Public Safety process. Where I often heard this, well, how did our police department sort of come into being? And at the History Center, we have this really incredible collection that documents the history of our fire department. And we've got nothing about our police department. So would love to see, you know, this and find a way to be able to curate a community history of the police department, because folks will have that question again in our community.
Do you new guys get packets from the clerk's office with procedures and policies and all that?
The ethics code.
I'm just thinking of that's gonna be on our agenda. We have an update to one of our policies, and when I first joined the board, there was. The board had an office in GIAC. We had a dedicated, paid staff member. But not full-time, part-time for her. Anyway, over there was a file cabinet full of the old cases. And I took it upon myself to go back and go through the old cases. It was very interesting. The cases should be on file in the clerk's office. Now, we don't keep any of the paperwork ourselves at home. Or we shouldn't be keeping any of the paperwork at home. I recommend that to you guys. And you should be able to go back and look at the cases. As Chief Kelly noticed, or made notice of this, there have been very few cases in the last years. Couple of years, there used to be more. I guess that's a good sign. Or maybe not, I don't know, I mean, that's a judgment call, I consider it to be a good sign. There really aren't many cases. And the ride-alongs, I know that current members are remiss in taking yearly ride-alongs. They're really good. And it's really just gives you a whole different perspective on what officers do. That's how I met former Chief Jolie. We had a really interesting time, but that's worth doing, and you contact the police department and they will set you up for that. Should they contact you or?
Yeah, I was gonna ask for contacts, but you can just shoot me an email and then we'll set that up and we've put together, like I said, some training material and some of the bigger policies.
The last time I did one, I did it with Scott Guerin,
Okay, yeah.
so
It's
probably should update my.
been a minute.
So, next on the agenda, approval of the minutes. I don't know if, I guess we're gonna consider this a quorum, but it's not really a quorum in terms of approval of the minutes. So,
I think legally we can vote on them, even though we weren't here, is that correct? Robert's Rules of Order wise. Council member?
I don't know, I'm just gonna put it
I
up.
think we can vote on them. I mean, they're legally, they're on the board, they can vote.
Yeah,
I mean, they could choose not to because they weren't here. And they, but we are just talking about minutes.
and I'll put that up for vote, and I have one question about them.
And maybe you could table it to the next meeting, not like the biggest deal, it's just minutes.
Well, we're gonna put it up for vote, I'm gonna take care of things. So. All those in favor of approving those minutes?
Do we need a second? Dude.
I'll second.
All those in favor? 1, 2, 3,
I watched the meeting this morning, that's why I'm raising my hand.
that's 3 to 2,
Is there an opportunity to abstain?
yeah? 2 abstentions,
Yeah, I just want to make clear, I'm not voting against.
yeah,
You
no, I,
save, I can go home and watch the meeting, I just don't wanna be stupider than I already am. I don't know what I'm voting on.
Well, 3-0 passes, right?
all right, let's postpone that altogether,
Okay.
we'll postpone it until next week.
You mentioned you had a question on the minutes though?
Well, I do, there was a question that came up as to. What happened with Kathy Zone? She was contracted to work on this. Whole plan of unarmed officers. Now it seems that. The city manager's office, or the assistant manager, the deputy manager is, Zarecki has taken that over. And I don't know what happened with Kathy Jones. And no one did answer, I'm not sure who was to answer that, does anyone know?
Well, I think I didn't know in the meeting, which is why it's not in the minutes, but I did ask the mayor about it afterwards.
Uh-huh.
I mean, her contract expired, which is why we're not hearing from her anymore, but she did present her findings to the council. It might have been like, for me, it might have been like at my second meeting, I think it could have been like February of 2024. But I might be getting the dates wrong, but it was very early in 2024. I don't know if I wouldn't know if she came to present those findings here. I think the mayor was under the impression she would do.
I don't believe she presented them to us.
It should be part of public record. I didn't come prepared to distribute it, but I could easily find out where they are and circulate them.
Could you do that?
Chris, I see that in the notes you say see attached press release as an addendum to these minutes. Can we obtain copies of that?
Sorry. Again, I wrote these minutes in May.
That's okay.
I can, yes, I will forward them all to you. I have it in time. And the copy that I sent to Shirley had them.
I understand.
There is a press release concerning
When she was hired.
that she was hired. Okay.
I do think our deputy city manager, Dominic, has that report as well, and it's part of probably a library of materials that he's using to help facilitate the next steps in reimagining public safety. Do you know anything more than me, Chief?
It was presented to the council, gosh. Had to be May or June of last year. There was a presentation. I'd have to look back and see what that was, but that was at the end of. She would have been extended for a month or something to do that.
Well, seeing that would be a way to transition from what was going on then to what's going on now. And that's, I think, was my original question. Because I'm not sure exactly what's going on now as far as the deputy. Goes.
Well, his plan is to have a really wide net of stakeholders that he brings into the conversations about what the next steps are for plans, or how to even consider like imagining the next steps for plans. I'd certainly advocate that this group would be considered as someone representing in this group of be represented in those conversations.
That would work.
Yeah.
Could we ask him to come here and let us know where he is and
I can be your liaison and deliver that request to him and hopefully that I don't see why he wouldn't come here and talk to you about what he's planning. It seems like an easy thing for him to do.
you guys like to hear from him directly?
Best source is the person who put it together, yeah.
That he asked?
Yeah.
So why don't you ask him informally and I guess I'll be the chair for a month, but I don't know, I'll contact him and invite him there. And then he could make a presentation to us and then we can decide from there where we want to go with that. I think the board probably should, but I think board members would like to have an input into what's happening. Right? Any comments on that? You guys want to see him here?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so it sounds like we're gonna shelf this and put it on next month's agenda too as well.
Well, we're gonna get information about zoning. And we're gonna contact Recchio and ask him if he would be so kind as to attend our next meeting. And if not that one, the following one. And offer our expertise, but I don't know what to offer here. I mean, I'm not sure who's interested in participating further. Maybe if he was to come here, people might say, gee, I'd like to get more involved in it. Because he does say he wants to have this wide net, but so far we're not part of it. Maybe we can't be.
That seems like a future bridge to me, like maybe we should be asking that question after he does the presentation.
Because if we don't have the information to be able to answer the question, why ask the question, I guess.
Yeah. If we can get him to come here, that to me would be, an ideal situation. Okay, report from common council. Is there any public comment?
We tabled the approval of minutes, and I.
Yes.
And that's correct. No, we had a quorum and we did have a vote.
Did you have a comment? You wanna come up?
I do.
You'd like me here? You can sit in any one of the chairs you want.
Thank you, Rick.
Close it.
I'm gonna be a little scattered here, and my name is Todd Kurzweil, I live in Fall Creek. My wife and I are the founders of Sunny Days of Ithaca on the Ithaca Commons. I'm gonna refer you to the Code of Ithaca Community Police Board, section C16. It's the code of how the Community Police Board is founded. Everything else comes from that. It's really short. It's 4 different paragraphs. I encourage you to read that. It hasn't been amended since like 1993 or so. Again, if you go to E code for Ithaca, it's section C16. In section C there, it talks about in the first sentence, the community police board shall act as a community liaison to the police department, actively fostering positive communication between police and all segments of the community. For the past several years, since my wife decided to start up Sunny Days, we've been impacted by the Green Street redevelopment project, both on the Ithacan side and now on the Austerity side. And so I've been quite vocal about learning about, the economic development, all of that stuff, and about policing. I've tried to send information to this board over the past couple months. The last time I tried to send it, the mayor censored me and told me that he took this distribution list off of that and said that it wasn't pertaining to this board. I got Alan involved. I sent him message as well, saying that I don't think the mayor can unilaterally make that decision. As a matter of fact, it says within these provisions that the mayor cannot even be on this board. No elected city official can be on this board. So I'm not sure, even since then, over a month ago, in 4 attempts of trying to find out if my message has gotten to this board, I've not gotten an answer of that. So I believe I've been censored by the mayor. And I think that is quite horrible for that to happen. I also want to speak about Austerity and its impact on downtown. And, we're right in that Home Dairy Alley. We've been broken into once, a second attempt to be broken into, plus all of the impacts in front. I've been trying to get the Common Council to put something on an agenda about this, the DIA to put it on an agenda about it. Can't happen. It's not happening. I know that things are happening. I commend the work that's here. I've tried to come to the meetings, but they've been canceled the past several times. I'm here now. Someone came to my business thinking I was on this committee. Was it you?
It was me.
It was you. And so we talked at length then, and I'm pleased to be here now and want to work together. I was a teacher for 30 years. I had negotiated collective bargaining agreements with my union, so I understand what's going on. I have a point of view from my point of view. But I don't have a salary. I'm on the front grounds working right in front of this stuff. And I have people urinating on my door while we're inside. I have lots of other things I could talk about. And I'm not saying anyone's doing a bad job. I want to talk about some content, about the ordinance, the zoning. I want to talk about some process of communication. Now I'm going home at night, and on my corner, there's a police detail there almost 24/7 because I live close to Josh Riley. So now I have police presence right on my corner, 24/7, without any communication to the neighbors or anything. So I'm a little concerned about that. I'm dealing with police and crime in the downtown when I'm at work, and then I'm walking home and seeing, Ithaca Police Department on the corner there almost all the time. So that sets off a whole series of thoughts in my head, because yeah, I'm on the spectrum and I put things together, maybe some people won't. But, you know, I feel like I'm at risk now. I'm not gonna keep my front door open as much. You know, and I have the screen and the air coming in. I'm a little bit nervous now that sometimes I'm coming home and seeing multiple police cars on my corner. So it's a little bit concerning. I'm not gonna take up more than 3 minutes of my time, but I am gonna let you know I'm gonna continue writing. I believe I've been censored, which is unbelievable in Ithaca. Especially when I read the code and sent the code to the city council, the mayor, Alan, and no response over a period of like 4 times asking and no response, including the past 48 hours of whether my messages have been distributed to the people I asked them to be distributed to.
Could you help me with one thing? I missed your name.
Todd Kurzweil, TODDKURZWEIL. On the commons, these wheeled transport things with batteries and throttled power, some of them are heavy and they're hitting people or they're zooming around corners. And my customers are afraid to come. Older people are afraid to walk there. Those people are sometimes inebriated or under the influence. Are they motor vehicles or are they not motor vehicles? Do we have a pedestrian commons or are we changing it to not be a pedestrian commons? We really need to be deliberate about these things and not form another commission to kick the can down the road here. What I heard said here tonight about this committee should be part of the reimagining. Damn straight it should be. It should be working from here and not reinventing the wheel and kicking the can down the road. Damn straight it should be.
We are getting to a time limit.
That's fine. I appreciate you giving me the time I had.
No, I appreciate hearing from you, and that's. You brought up a number of issues. I'm just gonna, anybody can speak to it, but I'm gonna speak to a couple. How common council treats the commons, is not our business. Are you following what I'm saying?
No, I don't, because this group can make recommendations about the policing to the police department.
We can do that.
Yes,
Secondly, the mayor should not have cut you off with communications with us.
I believe that to be
You were
true.
always allowed to have.
That's why I'm here today.
communications With this board, either through the chair, which is me for now. Or through the clerk's office, which will be to the chair and to the board. Or you can come to these meetings. There's no.
Not even an acknowledgement or response to my request to know if it was sent on.
Well, there has been some disarray on this board. We've had some personnel changes and so on, but you should not have been dismissed.
Thank you.
There's absolutely no doubt about it. And in the future, you will not be dismissed.
I appreciate that.
I would like to talk to you personally about the police cars being on your corner. And Josh Riley, I really don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get into it now.
Didn't want to come here and talk about it. I reached out to Chief Kelly's office twice in the past couple of days, and I reached out to Josh Riley directly.
Are you getting any
No.
answers? Not yet.
No. The police officers who I talk to say it's above their pay grade, and I say, well, you need to let your chief know that I've been trying to contact them, and they give me their card, and I follow up in writing. And they said he wasn't there yesterday, and now we're seeing each other today, and we've met, we've talked, and I have no problem. I'm here about content of, you know, what the Commons ordinance is and execution of that, as well as about the process of communication with this committee.
And I'm gonna give other people. I'm also gonna, before you leave, I wanna give you my phone number so that you and I get in touch. We're gonna sit down and talk about this kind of stuff.
I appreciate that.
Because some of it's our purview, some of it isn't, in my opinion.
Who makes the agendas for this meeting?
The chair makes the agendas.
Great.
So any other comments?
I understand the frustration. I mean, if you guys were sending out 4 emails and you didn't get a response, I mean, I understand that we haven't met in a number of meetings. But hopefully the excuses stop today. This is not how we wanna, if we're gonna be liaisons between the police and the community, a lot of our responsibility is the community. This is not how we do things going forward. And how does this make us look? if this is how we want to continue, I gotta say.
And the mayor is not in our chain of command.
Okay.
Neither,
Yeah.
neither is the,
No elected person.
no elected, no appointed, there is no chain
Yeah.
of command that's here. We are our own chain of command.
That's just a point of order is with this particular board, when there is public comment, is there a back and forth with the person speaking, or is this we've received comments and then we can address it at some point, like with common council, somebody comes up and talks and then they say thank you and then,
We've left that up to the discretion of the chair, and I'm perfectly willing to have a small discussion. I'm keeping my eye on the clock.
okay, I just was curious, proceed.
We don't have a lot of
Public comment.
public comments, so we haven't made policies.
I mean, in that regard, Todd, what would you like to see from the emails and communications that you've delivered? What would you like to see come out of those? Like, what is your intention
Thank
with
you.
approaching this?
I sent that subsequently twice after the mayor did that.
Well,
At first, when I wrote to Alan, and Alan questioned me about what I was doing and were these, like, I wrote to him about, this is the way that I do advocacy to both city council and now this group, and that I wanted to communicate with them for them to receive the information as it was sent, and for them to decide what they want to do with it. If they want to talk to me, they want to make it an agenda item, if they want to do this, that, or the other thing. I'm not dictating anything. I'm just transferring information that I feel is important and a prioritized concern from this point of view, as well as I believe others that I talk to.
What is the outcome you were looking for? You wanted an email back? You wanted to be able to come speak? Like, I'm trying to figure out like how to meet you where you are. It's
I'll
like,
watch.
what exactly were you expecting?
Watch the meeting, the rest of it, because I'm 17 minutes late for my shift now. And I'll watch the rest of it. I'll read the minutes. You know, I'll probably come to the next one. What do I want? I want an admonishment of the mayor for censoring me. I want you to get the documents that I wrote and to see the dates that I was polite and wanted to send that information and wasn't being disrespectful, so that you know that, you know, my intent is good, not to hurt anybody, but to work together for a better good of the community.
Okay.
Yeah. Alan and I both have copies of these emails. It wasn't clear to me that your initial attempts didn't. But I did plan on, after I read the next emails about the concerns, I did plan on talking about them tonight. So forgive me for. You had to kind of address before I got the chance to do that. But we do have copies of the email. I think we do have perhaps a new email kind of listing them. I mean, there's 3 group, I don't even know how to email the entire group at this point.
So I'd like to just jump in because this highlights some of the systemic issues we've been having for months. And this is exactly what we were very concerned about with a lot of the organizational changes. This is wholly unacceptable in my view because the board had, or at least board members, it seems like city staff have had access to these emails, but none of the board members. That's a problem. And we've been warning about the lines of communication actually reaching the board without the city being the man in the middle for every communication that comes to the board. And this is a perfect example of that. And I'm really disappointed to hear that we're the last ones to, as board members, to hear about these communications. And really, we have to address that. That's all.
I'm gonna ditto that. Alan, sometimes the clerk's office will be used. Somebody's gonna try to communicate to our board through the clerk's office. My expectation as board member is that the clerk's office immediately passes that information on without editing to the chair of the board. That it doesn't go anywhere else. It doesn't go to the common council. It doesn't go to the mayor. It doesn't go to anybody else in the city. Nobody.
Well, mine,
It goes
granted,
directly.
mine had both distributions on there.
Well,
So is there-
we have changed the subject to a different part of our agenda. This has to stop. This is part of the reason that you guys need to know this, that our board is having problems. Since there have been changes in the city management structure, The city manager has gotten involved with this. It used to be, it went to the clerk, to the chair, to the board. That's what I expect as a board member. And it doesn't go anywhere else. I don't ever, I'm telling you, Alan, I don't ever want to find out. From now on, what's in the past is in the past, and I don't know what all that was. I wasn't involved in that controversy, it got somewhat bitter. But in the future, it's the clerk's office to the chair and nobody else.
Actually, I'd like to respond to that, and there's more than Todd who emails this address, so I'm gonna speak in generalized terms, I don't have a particular email of yours in mind, I'd have to review them and just remember exactly what was in each one. I know we get several messages a month that are a picture of someone breaking what is presumed and probably true, breaking the law in the comments. And I've always responded, this, if it's a law enforcement issue, which is someone breaking the law, please contact the police department. I give the 911 number, I give the non-emergency response number, because this board can't enforce the law. If it's other types of things, I believe they've been passed along, and if they haven't been or they get intermixed, that very well may be where there's been some confusion. Again, with emails in general, but I don't ever forward any emails to the city manager or the mayor. To be very clear on that point, that has never happened.
Going forward, I'm really not trying to accuse anyone. I'm really not, and I do not want to go back to where.
Yeah.
To the meeting that we had that I attended with Shirley, I don't want to go back to that, that was not good,
No,
but. I think as a board member, my expectation is it comes directly to us, and you're right, you're gonna have to make a decision. If it's somebody that writes to us and says this is happening on the comments, maybe it needs to get past the police. But you can always run it by a chair, whoever that chair may be.
I still think we have issues with someone not on the board triaging messages that are sent to the board. I can appreciate that we need to strike a balance with things that may have inadvertently been sent to the board. But I really think that's a dangerous and slippery slope to have somebody else vetting the communications that comes to the board. My 2 cents.
So is there can I jump in for one? Because Todd, you used an email address that I assume this email address was a distribution list. It's cpb@cityofithaca.org. Is that something that we're actually using?
It is not a distribution list, it's an actual email account that we do all our intake for. And then can be forwarded to the distribution list, which is CPB members, which is a internal city email address.
But there's no way to connect the two so that anyone that emails this would automatically get
Auto-forwarding?
members.
Can you auto
Get
forward it
Would
to?
automatically go to the members of the board. That would seem like an auto forwarding feature in like Microsoft, whatever.
Without knowing everything that comes into that email account, and then you get, there's a lot of spam and junk too,
100%.
absolutely, everything could be forwarded, but you're gonna get more than what you're expecting, is just my
Or
belief.
is better, that sounds like right now.
Absolutely. it can be-
Too much
that can be done.
information.
That's easy.
I mean, right now,
That's
people in this room don't have a way to get in touch with each other as a uniform way, so we need it, at a minimum, we need that. And then I could, at a minimum, forward your emails, Todd. But I think there's a bigger issue that you're talking about, that's probably a technological solution. How do we make sure everybody stays in the loop when communications are sent to the board?
I just have to respond to one thing that's not said
Mhm.
and you haven't responded to, is you're prepared to talk about it tonight, but your other members were not aware that you're prepared to talk about it tonight.
Yeah, I didn't know you were gonna be here, so I had intended to just speak at the report of common council. When I read your last email, it wasn't clear that you were coming tonight.
Well, I thank you for bringing the issue here then, as you were planning on doing. Because it's an important thing, and that's why I say it's not just about the content of the items I'm talking about, it's the communication between the stakeholders.
Take this, give me a call, give it a few days, so I can get some information processed and thought about. We do that,
Absolutely,
and then we can move this meeting along.
Yep.
I just wanted to respond because you've always had a way to get a hold of me. We've talked many times in the past and I'm aware of the struggles on the commons and you've seen the very public campaign that we've been doing. You've seen the increase. There has been an increase in summonses issued. I've also heard from a lot of the businesses that while things aren't perfect, they have improved. I appreciate your story, your wife. I did stop in and get my Commons anniversary shirt. And appreciate you bringing attention. And if you heard me on Joe Salzone in the morning or some of my other comments in saying like, hey, we need to celebrate the Commons because it is a great thing and it has been around for a long time and I mean, we were just the #1 city to visit in the whole US was named, Ithaca. As far as an immediate response for police in your neighborhood, I did get an email from one of the sergeants earlier today. And the fact that you were gonna come here or I was gonna visit you, that's fine. Like, I'm glad that you came here. That's fine. Air your grievances. It's not that I don't want to respond to you. It's that there are many, many other responses that I'm timing out with. And, so when you talk about the comments, if you don't think that we're responding to issues, it's not perfect. I know there are still more issues. I know the electric scooters. I don't like the fact that it's not a motorized vehicle, but it's not. They travel just as fast as any of the mopeds and things that run on gas, but it's not a motorized vehicle. So I mean, I share that concern with you. And as we move on, in technology, some of these things need to be considered because it's not human power. Half the bikes in the city aren't people pedaling, it's an electric motor. I certainly am available to talk offline, but I want you to know that, I do hear you, I am responding.
The email on your directory gets bounced back.
Which
It's Kelly@cityofithaca.org.
Okay. I will look into that. That's the first.
So I
get lots of
used the
emails.
info line and then I went directly to the officers in front of my house.
Okay,
I can show you the email being bounced back.
does it say what the email actually is? There an email?
I'll send you the
address?
screen.
Okay.
I won't take up time. in the meeting.
Okay,
I really do appreciate you. I agree with everything that you said, Chief Kelly. I have no issues. As I said to the police officers, I'm your friend. I just want to work together and not be ignored when I'm trying to have a conversation. I'm not saying that we don't have other responsibilities and we're not timing out our responses, but to acknowledge and to be heard and to understand that you're in the loop and the queue is important too.
I do. I
Thank you. I appreciate you all. Have a good evening.
You too, thanks again.
Thank you.
Do you want to go ahead with your? And then let me kind of wrap up where we were with that other stuff.
Mhm.
I think Meryl and I both stated as clearly as we can, that we want all information. 100% of it, with no filters, passed on to us. We're getting too much, we'll deal with it and tell you what filters we want. I also don't think it should be just passed on to the chair. I think everyone should see everything. The chair can play the role of organizing it. That's something we have to work out. We have new members on board and we have to work that out between us, so.
I am happy to
So for
set that
now-
up if that's.
For now, if we do it that way, keep it private.
Yeah.
I'd be happy as a lark. Does that make sense to you, Meryl?
Yeah, I'd be curious what the rest of the board members think as well.
I mean, if we can get something set up in the next week or so, that at least just puts us all in contact.
Well, there is a group distribution list that you're all tied to, CPB members. Unfortunately, as you all have personal email accounts, you can't initiate an email from the outside world using it. You can reply to one that you've received email from.
Can you send an email out using that list so that we may see everybody else's email? Does that make sense? Like right now, we don't have each other's contacts. So if you can initiate that, then at least we'll know who's in that.
I will send a new one.
That you want
First thing
to take
tomorrow.
all our email addresses?
Yeah, and if we, do you guys use Google Drive or Google Docs? I mean, as a shared drive, is that what you do?
No.
No, that's been a topic that's been perennial in terms of how we're organizing things. In some cases, when I first joined the board, we were still working from a lot of paper documents because a lot of the forms paper, but since we're now moving to, is it called, OpenGov? Yeah, OpenGov. There is a digital intake form process now that has digitized a little bit more of our work. That being said, we haven't really received many cases, recently. There were a few at the very outset of this year, but, apart from that, it's been a known challenge that we've tried to address around a collective workspace historically, and I'll just be real brief. Historically, we've had to individually email the board, contact at the clerk's office to obtain documents, work independently, share within the group as on a need-to-know basis, and then send things back to our clerk contact for mailing out either reports or letters to complainants. And it's a little bit of an ad hoc manual process at present.
Whatever she said, I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm too old for this digital world.
I mean, Google Drive is the, I mean, especially for the
How
policies
please,
and
I don't-
procedures updates that you were doing, like all of that stuff, and it's a way for us to communicate without having to.
Right, and initially when I first joined the board, I raised the question, is there any way for board members to be provisioned access to workspaces that the city already hosts and provides that could provide some consistency? And that's not, that wasn't possible, I was told. Microsoft.
When was that?
That was at least 2 years ago when I first raised the issue.
Yeah, should we come back to that? I agree with Ariel, like, should we digitize everything at some point?
Yeah, I'll give you a very, very short answer, which is we cannot give licenses to non-city employees.
And I
That's the short answer, but
Because
Yes.
they assume it's a liability just in case.
it's part of the license agreement.
Oh,
No,
they pay for them.
it's part of our government licensing agreement as well.
Okay.
And it would violate security protocols and
Yeah.
policies, but there is a money factor, but that's minor actually anymore. But it does add up to some people, but that's not the reason.
What do we have up here?
Richard?
Yeah.
Hey.
Can you hear us, Richard?
Yeah, I can hear you. Sorry, it took me a little bit to try to get connected, but
I didn't know what was going on. It just kind of came up there. You still on the board?
yeah.
Good. Okay, that was an important question. It came up earlier. Glad to hear that.
No, I appreciate it.
And you know that Shirley resigned?
I'm learning.
Okay. And we don't know about Mike, so that fills you in.
As I had stepped out earlier, I checked my email and saw that I did have an email from Michael. He has also now resigned.
So, there you go. Call me up at home, we'll sit on top.
Gotcha.
Alright. Working council?
Do
Okay,
we wanna do, sorry, the police chief first since he had to go? Or do it doesn't
That's a
matter?
good idea.
I also have to go and I have a question, so we'll make it selfish as well.
It's good to see all the new faces.
I don't know where the camera is.
It follows the voice around.
I'll be quick. How about that?
Go. Thank you.
Yeah. I did want to acknowledge that we were getting a lot of emails from, now everybody knows Todd. There are other people that write to us as well about the commons. People want to see, the people that write to us want to see a lot more rules enforced on the commons. There's a lot of reports about like drug use and alcohol use and aggressive behavior and panhandlers and Todd is very clear with this in one email that he's written to us about these motorized scooters. So there is some concern that probably isn't new for even the new people on this board, that people are worried about the direction of the city commons. It was nice to me to hear from Todd, or maybe reminded me from Todd that we have the ability as this group to make recommendations. That doesn't mean they can follow them, they have to follow them. But I think that was an important thing that I haven't heard us really talk about in my short period of time here, that we can make recommendations, and I think that's something for us to consider, and it's nice to see someone from the Downtown Ithaca Alliance on us, or the History Center, you know, both. The last thing I wanted to say, from my point of view is that, you know, the last council meeting, we had a lot of people come to the community to talk about flock. And there's a lot of concern from community members that, there's the potential for the federal government to use, to get into the flock database and use it to support their ICE arrests. I know this group was actually, I think this was one of the ways this group was involved in city policy. I think you did listen to a presentation on flock at some point, if I'm not mistaken.
No.
No.
We never had a presentation on flock. We had a good discussion with the chief. Back and forth with Q&A and questions, but we never received a presentation from flock at all.
Okay, I misread that minute then, I'm sorry. I thought it was a presentation. Well, I'd be curious if we can put this on a future agenda item then, because the community certainly did talk about it. And this might be the right place for us to continue that discussion. Or at least a place, not the only place.
Well, through the lens of this committee, what would the benefit be of that? Just a general understanding, or is there an application?
What do you mean an application?
Like, would we be getting a presentation for the purposes of creating a suggested policy, or are we just doing it for information purposes?
I don't know. I'm suggesting that this group can
Well-
decide what next steps they want to do. If we want to have some sort of involvement in flock, this can be an agenda item where you talk about whatever. I'm not making a suggestion one way or another.
I'm just
I think
curious.
There's people that want us to cancel the contract.
There is.
I think
there's-
that.
I'm
Sorry, go
sorry, if
ahead.
I could just interject for a moment, Rich, because
Yeah.
I came into my position 2 years after flock had been introduced, and there were flock presentations to the council and different councils before you were on, before I was here. And so I came in an interesting position where we were installing, we were doing the permitting and had to catch up with what education had been done. And what questions we hear now. We didn't have flock come to the CPB, but the CPB put together 2 pages of questions, and we did have a lot of robust conversation. There's been numerous articles in the paper on it locally and nationally. I owe a certain reporter some feedback shortly on flock and where we're at now. We do have policy on flock that is in line with the city's sanctuary policies. And we do monthly audits on our local and statewide usage. There's guidelines in how that data is accessed. Certainly, we take Fourth Amendment very, very seriously. We take all of the, rights and privileges very seriously when, we utilize this technology. We did, or we are participating in the transparency portal and looking for feedback and what the community would like from that portal. What's too much or not enough. A lot of the conversation that came to the council last week were people that had spoken on flock. And it became a conversation around an unvetted news source. And whether the federal government had access or had abused it. And flock has been very public about in their position that absolutely not, the feds will not have access. And if agencies abuse that, flock will shut off their access. It's been a very useful investigative tool for us. It's not something that we just look and see who drives down the road. It is, we have follow-up information. We have maybe a partial play. We have crime reported or occurring at the different commercial businesses that privately use Flock for in their parking lots. We've used it in burglary, homicide, but all the different types of investigations. And the thing about Flock is it reduces unnecessary police contact because it actually will identify the vehicle that we're looking for rather than stopping based on a description or a possible suspect that we want to talk to. It narrows down the focus of the investigation. So it has the potential to, it really has exculpatory material as well in ruling out and preventing unnecessary police contact. I know I just put a lot of information out there. It certainly will answer any questions, but there has been a tremendous amount of ongoing conversation around Flock. And each time we start the conversation, it's like we go back to the beginning, and I just want to remind, like, long before I got here, there were years of conversation and presentations. And I suspect that we will continue to have these presentations and conversation, but Flock is probably one of the most least invasive pieces of equipment that, and I think I said this to you during one presentation, like if you have one of these, your privacy left a long time ago. But I digress.
So Chief, one of the things the folks that came to council in public comment spoke about, and it sounded like he just discredited it, was that there was potentially some inappropriate use of Flock, not here, in some other state, somewhere in the country, that led to an ICE arrest.
Yes.
And that maybe led to the folks coming to us and being activated.
It was the same media that they were quoting as their source. That story actually said that those places were shut off, that Flock took action and said, no, this is not use of our product.
Is there a way you can provide some sort of documentation about, or like, or show me how to find it myself maybe, but
I sent out that night, to the council.
that's what,
I have a
They
question.
were for media or something. I think
Okay.
it was.
I got it.
I never heard of them before or after.
Is Flock something we want to get into as a board? I think we have to decide this. It's a huge topic. It's very controversial. It has been very controversial. Council's looking into it. I personally have my doubts as to whether this is something I want to get into as that I think the board should get into. But I want to, do you guys feel that we should get into this as a board, or should we let this go?
I see it as long as it happens within the city, we need to prioritize it somewhat. Whether we made that higher or low priority, I don't know. But if it involves our police and it's having that, shouldn't it be on our radar?
I think we're already in it. We were asking these questions way before these conversations got popular. I think part of the issue was city council didn't do a good job asking enough questions when Flock gave their presentation. And when they gave their presentation, it was just this more generic promotional presentation of their tool, and didn't really ask enough questions. There wasn't really enough ushering in terms of buying into the community. By the time it got to Chief here, it was something that was, his thing was more of like, it's already been purchased, we're already on the way, this was already scheduled before I got here, and I'm just executing what was already planned. So there was obviously some limitation. Some folks on council have expressed concerns about this in the past. I think it was only one or two folks that had done that. But when it comes to, it's this bigger conversation, even when, and Chief, you brought up the same thing. I think it was to me, you had that conversation about if you already have your phones, it's already too late. And my argument to that was, it's different if I'm purchasing something versus a federal government watch. I'm not saying it's the same thing, but it wasn't as easy or as narrow as that particular highlight. I think right now, what might be helpful is if a lot, what the tons, and it's usually brought up, Chief has brought up this in a couple times, and when we've highlighted this, is the limitations, right? We talk about the things that it can help with and how how it can support, but not necessarily enough of like, and I understand that there are limitations, right? But I just don't think that they're broadcasted enough to clarify certain things. It's not to say that they haven't been mentioned, because it has been mentioned in particular meetings, but it's usually mentioned after something has gone wrong. And so as much as we talk about or celebrate how it can help in certain areas from a law enforcement standpoint, I think it needs to be even broadcasted louder. What are the actual limitations? And not just limitations, what are the penalties should these limitations be violated?
I'm sorry, if you're asking the question, is the penalties, the same as if there's any other violations?
I'm not asking a question. I'm stating that this is something that, like, along with the celebrations of what it can do, I think it also could be helpful to be able to clarify things for a number of people, if in the same tone of the celebration, at the same tone of like, what are the limitations, and should a limitation be violated, what is the penalty? I think if that's just as broadcasted in the same vein, I think that'll help to get folks on the same balance between the two spaces.
Let's try to answer that question. Does this board as a group want to stay on this?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
What do we expect to do with it, though, is my question. Like, I'm trying to get, as a new person, I'm trying to understand what is the actual purview of this board, because I've watched these meetings for years and it's not always been very clear, other than the investigations, right? So
We could make a recommendation to council, I guess.
is Common Council actually considering getting rid of these? They can't. It was a grant, right? It's a give grant.
I don't know if they're
I'm a bit
considering
concerned that if this is
common
how,
last month, there- A lot of people.
sorry
Okay,
to
so maybe
interrupt.
we could
I'm a bit-
impact it if we were timely.
I'm a bit concerned that if this is how we approach certain topics that already fall in our purview, then it's kind of like, well, are we going to do this if council isn't going to do this? I don't think that that's a helpful approach. I think things are already within the purview, and this is one of those things. And we have our responsibilities and things to do, and council has its own. But to say that we're not going to do this because council isn't going to do this doesn't really, I'm afraid of how far that can go and how risky of a behavior that can be.
Okay, then I
wasn't. Manage something.
I wasn't clear then. What I meant was I needed to know if it was under our purview, and if it is, that's great. And I wanted to know if what conclusions we might come to, if it would be actually actionable, because Common Council is working on it right this minute. Like, if we just want to suggest a policy in general, that's fine. But if we want to actually contribute to the ongoing dialogue right this second, then maybe we put it higher on the list. And does that make sense? I don't want to do stuff contingent on Common Council, but if it's a big issue right now, it's our best opportunity to make an actual impact.
Can I jump in first?
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think, cause what I also though was hearing from Richard when he was talking about like penalties or, what might happen should you violate people's privacy, and the chief was talking about your auditing process and how you ensure people don't misuse FLOC. I think what would be incredibly useful for me is if we had a space to really learn about how do you make sure nobody misuses it. And to Richard's point, what happens when it is, because the more we can be informed about how to ensure the police the police, number one, they don't, misuse this equipment, but they don't misuse it because the chief has this whatever plan in place that makes sure that either they don't misuse it or they're caught and they're identified and caught.
Right.
I think that would be a good time spent for this board.
So to build on that, to Ariel's point, I think one of the deliverables that we can, and the board historically has done, is to make policy recommendations. We can look at existing IPD policy and say, hey, did you think of this? We're noticing this. This is a new and emerging technology. Let's make sure IPD policies reflect those changes. And input that we're receiving from the community and broader conversations that are happening, whether it's folks showing up to common council during public comment or news articles or other areas where the discussion in the community is ongoing. This is a wonderful space for that, so I'm wholeheartedly for continuing the conversation.
I apologize if I do have to go to the shelter, but.
Please don't apologize.
I just, there's a number not off the poll. The knows, but there were policy recommendations that were made by this board. And I've, by all means, like, we could discuss whatever the board chooses. Probably would suit the board to finalize or pull together, like, the chairperson and set that agenda. Before we start going after different policies and different positions on things, like, just to come together. So we're efficient and effective at the work that's being done. Cause there was, I remember an extensive conversation over several board meetings, on this topic, and by all means, we can do it again. But I know there's just a lot of pressing issues that need our attention. But yeah, I'm excited that there's new members. I'm excited, I think we appreciate Shirley's service to the board and the work that she's done. There's certainly been a lot of great work done by this board, and in the interest of that continued process, I think there's some internal conversations probably to kind of set up leadership and guidance for how the board proceeds forward are going to be essential for success and continue, accountability and transparency with the police department.
I need to duck out, I'm sorry. I've got a family
We
thing,
have two duckouts.
sorry.
I
I try. Any email that would go out with more information would be amazing. And then,
Quickly while Ariel's here, because she gave me a piece of advice when I started at council that I should share with everybody else, that you should take your time to read some of the old minutes to really get yourself educated and up to speed. And it'd be helpful thinking about this conversation, knowing that we had this conversation already a few years ago. I don't know if there's somebody that can alert us to a time frame, because that's the hardest part.
And dig through meetings in multiple iterations.
Yeah.
And send links to every single meeting in which this was discussed previously, so we are not wasting.
Okay,
I've
well, that's
been
good
around
advice, so
public
thank you.
meetings long enough to know like what you attack will make a difference and what will not. That's my.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thanks.
Thank you for that offer. I'm gonna be
Yeah, if
taking
you
up.
want me to do it, somebody just tell me.
Yes, Andy, yes, everybody
Okay.
says yes.
Will do.
Thanks, Steve.
Say, chief, this email works, but
Thank you.
I will then I'll jot down. I think it's one link on there that's,
Okay.
I don't know where it goes. This you have to, good night.
You too, take care, chief.
Hi, Richard, always a pleasure.
Likewise, be safe, get home safe.
Thank you.
Put block on for next month in some form. I missed most of the meetings when that went on. Not here for those. And I'm also not in the least bit interested in getting involved with the block discussions, personally, as a member, as a chair, but it looks like people want to stay on this, so. I don't. Oh, we have time.
I think that's a good point of having a chair put in place first, and then we could set our priorities from that point of view. Like, it's easy, I'm sorry if I'm cutting you off, it's easy to get excited about lots of agenda. I mean, y'all have probably been on committees before, but it's easy to get excited about lots of different things when you first jump on the board.
And it sounds like if it would be more reasonable, we could perhaps make a subcommittee for this. I think I saw something about that in here,
In the,
like aside from investigations, but you could form subcommittees to address special topics, is what I'm saying.
well, certainly, and there's no reason that if couple, 3, 4 members of the board want to get together and stay on this idea of plot, it would be great. It won't be me, I'll tell you that. And my opinion is that we don't need to go into block at all. But that's my opinion, I'm not the boss of the world. I mean, not anymore. Are paper complaint forms from the police station the most up-to-date version? I don't know. We'll ask the chief next time.
Is this moving into old business here?
Yeah, I'm looking at.
Are we skipping the? report
Well,
from
I'm
staff?
looking at the clock. What's that?
Are we skipping report from staff to discuss split support? Cause I know Alan needs to maybe duck out here soon, and
Well,
I assume that's where your update squeezes.
Well, I wasn't sure exactly what needed to be discussed. That's why I was gonna be here, but I do have to leave in a couple minutes, so.
I think we snuck it in. With that public comment stuff. I mean, I think it's clear.
Yeah, I'm happy to come to the next meeting too, and if there's specific questions that people want to forward me, I can have answers either sent out ahead of time or at least prepared for the board. I guess I'm just not entirely sure, in very shortened form, the restructuring. I assume is referring to what went to council committee last week, reforming into DICE, Department of Information and Community Engagement. If that's what this is referring to, the immediate effect will be 0 changes whatsoever. Long-term, we'll be adding a position, which is a standalone clerk position, which is already funded, so I hope it continues to go through with council, but and that gives us an opportunity to rethink not just this board or other boards, but all the ways we support legislative duties across the city. So I would defer until we know that that's going to happen and we get that position filled. We have that extra person, extra body here, hopefully with lots of experience in municipal clerking. And then I think it's a very valid conversation to have, both in regards to CPB and many other things across the city.
How does that aid to the sense of independence, particularly from operating between, let's say, the clerk and obviously the whole city manager situation? Like, how does this future person or this current situation underscore or support this role of independence, you know, that this board plays?
Were you here for the discussion we had when Mr. Kurzweil, Todd Kurzweil was here?
No, he wasn't.
Okay, Meryl and I made our opinions clear as the only two board members that were from the past, that the clerk's office was to forward all information to us, to all of us, not just to the chair. All information comes to us and only to us. And Alan agreed that that was what he would do. So that's where we left that. There was some discussion about that, but I think did I sum that up properly, Meryl?
Yeah, does that sound right to the rest of the board?
And we were gonna leave it like that. There's this additional issue where there may be some changes made to the structure of government. I think at that point, we need to get back in the game again.
Yeah.
And say, look, we're independent. That's why we asked Alan to just make sure there's nothing going to anyone else. That we wanted to have somebody at the clerk's office that was dedicated to us, not 100% to us, but it was dedicated to us. So that when that phone got answered, this was another issue, phone gets answered. There's a number that says community police board. If somebody calls it, is that person gonna say city clerk, or are they gonna say community police board? We'd like to have it be community police board. And then that information gets directly sent to us. It doesn't even have to go to you. And that's the way it used to be.
And I'm excuse me, I'm currently the person who monitors that line, and
So,
we haven't had a valid call on that. There's been a lot of wrong numbers on that in quite some time, but that doesn't belay the point that you're making.
so that's where we were, Richard. So we kind of gone over that.
And I'm sorry, Richard, I know you have questions. I'm just not able to stay beyond this point today. But I'm happy to come back and I'm happy to answer questions in the interim should there be, again, very specific questions. And regarding the forwarding of the email, I'll set that up tomorrow and I'll send a test email to make sure everyone has it. So I'll make sure that becomes my list. I'll say by the end of the week. I want to do it tomorrow. I'll say by the end of Friday, just to be safe, make sure I don't set an expectation that I can't meet for some reason tomorrow.
Are we planning to meet for much longer?
No, I'm trying to wrap this up. We do have a executive session
And I just wanted to leave, I don't know if you're aware, as the new interim chair, there was a complaint that came in either late last week or beginning of this week that I had forwarded to Shirley, so I will send it to you now. I don't know if it had made its way to anyone yet, but I will forward the complaint to you.
Okay, thanks. And I'll deal with that as
Yeah,
per
she just
procedure.
came in the last few days, or again, tail end of last week. I'd have to look back in the system just to tell you the exact date.
So since Alan's leaving, I'm gonna move right on to D.
Thank you,
Update
Alan.
policies and procedures.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Appreciate it. I'm gonna suggest that with policies and procedures. Meryl did most of the work on that. I helped a little bit. I wrote the original one. And then Meryl fixed mine. Made it better. Anyway,
Just embellished.
I'm gonna put that onto the next agenda and we'll. Try quickly on the next agenda to go through those policies and procedures so the new members can ask questions. Well, what's this?
I'm assuming we'll get it via email too, right?
You should have it.
It's in the packet that we got.
Oh, that one, yeah, okay, thank you.
Is that the updated one?
Yes.
Okay, terrific. Boy, you guys are great.
Maybe
So-
that's-
Take a look at that. If you have any questions, great. If not, we'll vote on it. That will give everyone a chance to ask questions and they'll all three be here.
Okay, because I already read this, I'm fine with it.
Discuss protocols around new CPD cell phones. As far as I know. They should be located at the clerk's office. Do you have?
They're right here and Alan I don't know if Shirley had them or what, but he just.
We have these phones because in the past, there has been people that we didn't want to use our personal phones for. And it started, that was 12 years ago, just since I got on the board, and there were some dangerous people. So they got these, we call them burn phones. I think for now, we'll leave them with the clerk's office.
Okay.
I've used my own phone. Probably shouldn't, but I have. But we'll leave them with the clerk's office. If you're on an investigation, you can use that phone and get it back to the clerk. And they're new phones, they're all up to date, cool, not like the old brick phones that we had for a while that I couldn't figure out how to use, they were too old. If you can imagine. We ready for executive session?
Sounds good to me, just.
Yeah, that's a good clarifying question. New business status of clerk's office restructuring, is that just what Alan was commenting on?
I think so.
Great.
There's been a lot of talk about it. I think we kind of got that settled,
Right.
and I just like to leave it alone, but wasn't pleasant. I'll leave it alone for now and hopefully we get the autonomy and privacy that's necessary on this problem.
In that case, can I make a motion to go into executive session?
Oh, yes, before you do, one last thing. Have you guys signed your privacy? Clerk's office? And, yeah, that's kind of important, not to pass any of this stuff on. It's really no one's business. People count on us to be honest. Some people don't care, but. They do count on us, so we have to respect them. And yes, there's a motion to go to executive session in first second, consider a vote.
Yeah.
That's for Richard, executive session.
Well, you can't join.
Hmm?
You're not allowed to join virtually.
Well, he voted to go into it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Not allowed to join virtually.
That's what they always tell us at the main meeting.
I don't think you can vote remotely either. He's just listening in, so I don't think we have quorum to go into executive session.
I think you can vote remotely. Just for
no,
executive session, you mean, or for anything? We vote remotely all the time. Well, not all the time, that's not true, but occasionally people,
Right, we've had this come up with the board before, and it's my understanding that we weren't allowed to have remote voting.
here's
or
the problem,
attendees.
here's why I'm rolling.
Alan knows the answer and he just left.
Yeah, we should have gotten into executive session earlier, but this has been floating around for a long time. The complaint came in 6 months late, we took it on. We resolved it,
Rick, do we need to be in executive session to talk about the details of this?
I'm not some top one.
Okay,
We resolved the complaint in a method that was a little bit unorthodox for us, but it was necessary. And the complainant deserves an answer. That's all I can say. We don't have a forum.
so we can push to next month, and hopefully that gives our new board members a chance to digest a lot of the content that we went over today, and time to review or ask questions. We can all get acquainted and save it for
I'm
next.
real disappointed, because this complaint deserved an answer 2 months ago, really.
Agreed.
And it's very disappointing that we weren't able to do this.
You don't even have a majority of people that have been here decide before today. So it'd be one thing if Richard was present, then you'd have at least 3 people that can vote on some action.
Yeah.
That have some knowledge of that action prior to today.
Well, I also know that it was essentially Mike wrote it. So,
Yeah,
and I also talked to Shirley, so she was in agreement with it, but I guess there's nothing we can do.
Yeah, I would say transparently, I wouldn't want to vote on anything having not.
If we get a complaint, timeliness is of the essence. We've gone over this for 10 years. There's always been delays. It's very frustrating to me, but I think complaints deserve to be. It gets to the clerk's office, it goes to the chair, it goes out, it's assigned to commissioners. They get right on it. They get it on Monday, they get on it on Tuesday, not Wednesday. And we get this meeting, get it going so that people get an answer as quickly as possible. Sometimes things take time, but I really feel somewhat embarrassed to not be able to give this answer. And I probably will hear from them. I'll do the best I can. All right, with that.
Motion to move.
Do I have to officially retract the motion for executive session then?
we're not very official here.
Yeah,
Any other questions, or should we have a motion to
sure.
join?
I'll move down.
Have a second?
Yeah.
Okay, and vote. Richard adjourn, okay? Okay, we got 5-1, 5-0.
So I have a few questions.